And in fact, the President did not declare martial law only for Marawi. As I understand, you wrote 5 letters.
That's correct.
And this all pertain to your request for transfer of the cases that were in Marawi.
That's correct po.
In the first letter, outside of Mindanao, whether it be the Visayas or Luzon,
That's correct. Yes, ma'am.
but in any case, outside
Outside
of
of Mindanao.
This first letter was dated May 29th po.
That's correct.
And according to both the verified complaint and the verified answer, a resolution was issued, whether this was en banc or a resolution issued by the Chief Justice. We were looking for a copy of this. In fact, this was subpoenaed, dated June 6, 2017, which in fact transferred the cases to Cagayan de Oro po. Is that correct?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Now, just to establish facts, kailan po ba na-declare yung martial law in Mindanao? Proclamation 218?
I believe that same was declared on May 23 when we were in Moscow.
So that on May 23rd, martial law was declared in Mindanao, and 6 days later, you immediately requested for the transfer of these cases outside of Mindanao.
Yes, Your Honor. That's correct.
Nung naideklara po yung martial law, you are aware of certain groups that loudly voiced opposition to the proclamation issued by President Duterte, Proclamation 218, which established martial law in Mindanao.
I think it's Proclamation 216, but there are many persons, a group of persons who are opposed to the proclamation. 216.
So there were persons opposed, and in fact, were there petitions filed in the Supreme Court?
If I remember correctly, there are several petitions, Your Honor.
In fact, Secretary Aguirre, there is a news item here from the Inquirer entitled Petition Against Martial Law Bound for Wastebasket. This is dated June 5, where you are quoted as saying wastebasket lang yan. The President does not need advice from anybody. And you were referring to the petition filed by the minority bloc which sought to nullify Proclamation 216. Yes, I stand corrected. Proclamation number 216, declaring a 60-day martial law in Mindanao.
I don't remember exactly the exact words I used, but if I say it's bound to the wastebasket, perhaps I said it.
Yes, you are also directly quoted as saying there is no need for an intelligence report or any capable recommendation because declaring martial law is the prerogative of the President.
That's right, Your Honor.
So this was June 5. I am just checking and it is in the Inquirer.net file. This
Yes.
was June 5. Is that right?
If it's June 5, then I believe it's June 5.
And thereafter, the following day, according to the verified answer of the Chief Justice, the resolution which transferred the cases to Cagayan de Oro was issued by the Supreme Court.
That's I was made aware of, but actually I have no such knowledge that it was issued in that date. But I was informed that my letter of May 29 was placed on the agenda, but it was not discussed in bank, and instead it was discussed over lunch. It was an only information.
So balikan lang natin. Your letter was dated May 29th. Gusto niyo pong i-transfer yung cases outside of Mindanao kasi nagkakagulo na sa Marawi eh.
Yes,
And in fact, the President did not declare martial law only for Marawi.
That's the whole of Mindanao, Your Honor.
Because Mindanao being one huge land mass, there was the possibility that yung kaguluhan could escalate and could extend beyond the boundaries of Marawi. Ganun po ba?
That's correct, Your Honor. As a matter of fact, many were criticizing the martial law then declared because he said that it should be limited to Marawi. But we discussed it in the cabinet, and we said that it should be Mindanao-wide because even before that, in September 2016, we know very well that Davao was bombed, and the bombing was admitted by this group, and so I believe that it should not be limited to the area of Marawi or Lanao.
So
only.
taking the same position as the declaration of martial law by the President, which covered the entire island of Mindanao, you wrote this letter, May 29th, requesting for transfer of these cases outside of Mindanao po.
That's correct, Your Honor, and I did not name any specific place. I just said it should be outside of Mindanao and it could be held in any place in Luzon or in the Visayas.
But the criticisms against Proclamation 216 largely centered on the fact that why should the President declare martial law for the entire island of Mindanao? Ganun po ba yun?
That's right. As a matter of fact, even the declaration of martial law itself is being contested by some groups.
That's right. Both martial law and the area of coverage.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay, so just to make this very clear po, May 29th yung request nyo, ilabas natin yung cases outside of Mindanao kasi yung kaguluhan sa Marawi, maaaring mag-extend beyond Marawi. On June 5, the first petition was filed in the Supreme Court questioning the declaration of martial law and the coverage of this covering entire Mindanao.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Opo. Now, on June 6th, lumabas yung resolution. Now, it's still being contested whether it was in fact decided en banc. According to the verified complaint, it was included in the agenda and yet, hindi ito na take up. It was discussed over lunch, but talagang lumabas yung resolution after the filing of the petition, June 5, lumabas yung resolution the following day, which transferred the cases not outside of Mindanao, as you had requested, but to Cagayan de Oro City po.
That's correct, Your Honor.
And ilang, how far is Cagayan de Oro City po from Marawi? Would you have an idea po?
Yes, Your Honor, I've been to Marawi City when I was a litigation lawyer, a lawyer of the late Senator Democa Alonto, and more or less I know that it will take about more or less 2 hours because you will pass by the Iligan City going up Marawi. So that's very near, I said. Yeah.
And considering that war was ongoing, practically bombs were exploding in Marawi City, would you say that transfer of these cases to Cagayan de Oro City was acceptable po?
That was the very reason that I wrote that May 29 letter, because I believe that it is not really reasonable or not justifiable having the hearing in Cagayan de Oro City, which I could say is only a stone throw away from Marawi City or Iligan City.
Kaya nga po, sa June 13th, sumulat na naman po kayo.
Yes,
Motion, for reconsideration.
yes, Your Honor, and I followed up with another letter the following day when we received some, I believe, some resolutions from Misamis Oriental IBP
So,
requesting the Supreme Court that it not be held in Cagayan de Oro City.
And in your June 13th, kasi dalawa yun eh, in fact, that would have outlined talaga the extreme urgency of your request, ano? Kasi June 13th, June 14th, you were requesting that hindi sa Cagayan de Oro City, these cases should be taken out of Cagayan de Oro, and in fact, out of Mindanao to perhaps Visayas or
Luzon.
Luzon.
That's right, Your Honor.
Anong reasons po? Could you kindly repeat just for to underline the rationale? Anong reasons po ang nailagay nyo po sa June 13th letter nyo? And these letters were, by the way, addressed to the Chief Justice.
On June 12, that is our Independence Day, I made an ocular inspection of the area. So I went to Cagayan de Oro. As a matter of fact, I remember also that I think the court administrator, Mr. Midas Marquez, was also there, but we did not meet. So the following are, I found out when I made an ocular inspection on June 12, that the members of the judiciary and the National Prosecution Service, our prosecutors, fear for their safety in the conduct of inquest, preliminary investigation, and trial of the cases involving Mauti Group. As a matter of fact, during that time, there was several inquest proceedings held, and all of my prosecutors there wanted the cases transferred. And 3 of them refused assignment because they are subject to retaliation. About one of the 3 is a resident of Marawi City itself. The second reason is that Camp Evangelista doesn't have the proper detention facilities to accommodate the apprehended members of the Mauti Group. Per my talk with the battalion the commander, General Madrigal, he said that they have only 29 detention cells, and that could not accommodate the possible hundreds that would be arrested by virtue of the general order of arrest issued by the Secretary of National Defense. And the Armed Forces of the Philippines does not have adequate training to provide proper jail management and funds for food and other provisions for detainees.
Yes. And the last
As a
reason
matter
would
of fact, Your Honor, so I even when I visited them, the wounded, I even out of my own pocket, I gave some money because of this lack of funds. And number 4, there's clear and present danger to the security police escorts in detainees, subject of the inquest proceedings for rebellion, as shown in the ambush on June 10, causing the killing of the 4 detainees and the wounding of the 3 security escorts. And 5th, Cagayan de Oro's Hall of Justice was gutted by the fire in January 2015, and the Courts of Justice are temporarily located at the City Tourism Hall, which is part of the local government, which houses the 7 city courts, the 14 regional trial courts, the National Prosecution Service, the PAO, and other offices of the judiciary. The modest office space of the City Tourism Hall cannot accommodate the influx of the detainees to be arraigned or to undergo preliminary investigation or trial proceedings. Moreover, the facility is not secured enough to be a venue of a high-profile inmate, a very dangerous group of individuals. As a matter of fact, Your Honor, a few days after I visited, one of the Mauti cousins of the Mauti brothers was arrested in Cagayan de Oro itself, at the very barangay where our city prosecutor is residing. He is established to have been one of the bomb experts of the Mauti group. So those are the reasons I gave in my letter of June 13.
Gwen, you still have many more
Yes,
questions?
just 3 more, please.
3 more. Please continue.
Thank you, Secretary Aguirre, for that last piece of information, because that would bring us back to the first reason that you propounded in your May 13th letter, which stated that there was clear and present danger, fear for safety, for the safety of the judges, prosecutors, detainees in Cagayan de Oro City. Tama po ba?
That's right, Your Honor.
And yet, on June 19th, the Chief Justice requested, and yet, sometime after such letters, 13th and 14th, the Chief Justice requested for a meeting dated June 19th, where, as you stated, if perhaps it is best that you say it in your own words, exactly what the Chief Justice requested from your good self.
Our meeting, kami lang pong dalawa, and as he told me that, Secretary, with respect to your request, sana i-tone down natin yung ating...
This is just a meeting between the two of you. Okay.
What
As
is that
matter of
again? Sana
i-tone down mo yung...
Tone down.
Tone down yung contents ng letter.
Yung contents in there.
Nagagawin mo. Ang meeting doon sa office ng Chief Justice sa Supreme Court. In other words, he was referring to the fact that I've been raising about this danger to the life and security of the judges and prosecutors and their staff.
Mr. Chair, with the indulgence of our good friend, Deputy Speaker Garcia, isa pang good friend natin. Secretary, what was the impression during the time that it was intimated with you by the Chief Justice? She told you that you should tone down the contents of your statements or your motion or your letter. What was in your mind during the time when you were told that you have to tone down your request for the message that you would like to impress upon the Supreme Court?
May I continue one more?
Yes, Mr. Secretary.
After that, sabi niya sa akin, concentrate mo na lang dun sa aspect on the fact that the cases should be transferred. It's good for that the case be transferred to Taguig because it would free the military from the aspect of taking care or detaining these individuals, and they could concentrate, fully focus on fighting against these terrorists. So to the question of the Honorable Doyle Liatzon, it would be speculative on my part if I delved in the minds of the Chief Justice, because I believe that it is only the Chief Justice who could answer the question.
But then, Mr. Secretary, what was your impression during the time? Normally, regardless of what the inside feelings or what was in the mind of the Chief Justice during the time, what was your impression? We just want to know for a fact what was your feeling during the time when you were told that you have to tone down your request.
Well, I have my own. Was thinking of my I have a theory, but it is unfair to the Chief Justice if I make a speculation, because it is only the Chief Justice who could answer that, unless it will come from you. I don't want to speculate.
May I continue?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Yes, you may continue, Deputy Speaker.
Yes, Secretary Aguirre. Nung sinabi na focus mo na lang doon sa ating mga troops who need to fight in Marawi, at tone down mo na lang yung danger posed to the judges, the prosecutors, the staff, na hearing these cases in Cagayan would entail. Nakikita nyo ba na kung yun na lang ang ibigay nyo na reason na kailangan natin ang troops natin, na dun they have to fight where the battle really is, which is only in Marawi, at hindi na natin i-mention or bigyan ng diin yung danger that was being posed in Cagayan de Oro City. In that sense, would you say that that would be limiting the focus on Marawi City per se, and in fact, would gloss over the fact that hindi lang naman yung danger nasa Marawi City, kundi pati na nga sa Cagayan de Oro City, and for all we know, the rest of Mindanao. Would you say that?
Actually, Your Honor, we have to remember that as of this time, there was already several petitions filed, and so this is being heard by the Supreme Court, whether on the propriety of the declaration of martial law, or the propriety, if it's called for, the propriety if it's being declared outside of Marawi, including areas outside of Marawi. So,
back to my question. By toning down emphasis on danger outside of Marawi and merely focusing on the need of our troops to fight the battle raging in Marawi, would that in effect seem to give the impression that yung danger ay nasa Marawi naman talaga?
well, as I've said, that's the comment of the Deputy Speaker, and I don't want to comment on that because
And as you said,
it is not of my personal knowledge.
And as you said, Secretary Aguirre, at this time, petitions had already been filed in the Supreme Court questioning the propriety of declaring martial law and the propriety of extending martial law throughout the entire island of Mindanao.
That's correct, yeah, Your Honor.
Eventually, the Supreme Court ruled. But this ruling came out upholding the declaration of martial law. Would you recall,
That's right, Your Honor.
Mr. Secretary?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Would you recall what date the Supreme Court upheld the declaration of martial law in the entire island of Mindanao?
As of this moment, Your Honor, I could not exactly recall the date.
But certainly in the interim, you had already kept on asking for the transfer of the cases from Cagayan de Oro City to Taguig, and reckoning from May 29th until the resolution finally was released, whether it's July 18 according to the verified answer or July 20 according to the impeachment complaint, that took an entire stretch of 50 to 52 days, during which time petitions were pending in the Supreme Court and a decision had to be rendered on the propriety of declaring martial law first, but not just that, of covering the entire island of Mindanao.
That's correct, Your Honor.
And in the decision that was eventually handed down by the Supreme Court. The voting was 11-3. 1. 11 justices upheld the declaration of martial law and the coverage which included the entire island of Mindanao.
That's correct, Your Honor.
3 justices did not support the majority opinion.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Was the Chief Justice amongst the majority or the minority?
I go with the records. Whatever I say, if the Chief Justice voted against, then that's it.
The Chief Justice...
I really could not remember, Your Honor.
We do have, I believe, and that can be
It's very,
checked.
very easy to check.
Well, we do have this decision, and that can be checked. I have earlier checked it. The Chief Justice voted against the majority, which upheld the declaration of martial law in Mindanao.
Your Honor, perhaps